Welcome everyone. We're going to take a look at Adobe Premiere Pro. This is what you're going to be using in class here to do many of your edits. This program is an incredibly flexible program. It's not going anywhere. It's not going away. People are using this to make movies. People are using this to make and do commercial work. It's a really powerful program. It takes a little bit of getting used to understand the program and how it works, but after you get used to it, you're going to love it. So let's take a look here. This is when you first open, this is the box or the dialog window that's going to come up right at the beginning. It's going to ask you if you want to open up a new project or if you want to open up an existing project. We're going to go with a new project here. And this first dialog box that comes up it's going to ask you, what do you want to call this project? It's also going to show you where your location of where that project's going to be stored. So you can change this at any point. If you want to store it right there on the desktop so it's easier for you to find, or you have it in a users, Stuyvesant, Documents, Adobe Premiere, Premiere Pro. So it's buried pretty deep the way it's set up here. Down here is your video, audio, and your capture format. Don't worry about capturing. We're not capturing on tapes. This is for DV, so that would be standard definition, and this is HDV, so this is high definition video, and that would be captured off a mini DV tape, which we don't have here in the school. I don't know, let's call the new project Adobe Premiere Tutorial. And hit OK. We're into Adobe Premiere now, and inside here there's quite a few panels that we need to talk about before we get started. Over here is your timeline, which will be created once we drop some media in here to create a sequence. Over here is going to be your program monitor. This is what's going to be showing in your timeline, and when your player head scrubs over clips, you'll be able to see that part of the clip up here. Over here is where your source clips are going to be at, and you're going to have your effect controls. So if you want to change aspects of the effects that you've put on your clips, this is where you would change that. Audio clip mixer. We'll see more in this box when we add a clip in as well. And then you got your metadata. This is where you can add and label things as far as adding different pieces of information to your clips so it's easier to find. Down below here is your media browser. This is one place where you can bring in footage or import footage. Effects. This is an area where you can add effects to your clips. Video transitions, video effects, audio transitions, audio effects. All this stuff has pull downs. So I've just kind of opened up video transitions. One of my favorites is cross dissolve right there. Let's open up video effects, and you can see how deep this program gets. So there's adjust, blur, sharpen. There's a lot to explore, but first is kind of getting an idea of what all these things do. Okay, let's go back to source, and I want to start you guys out by importing some clips. So there's a couple different ways to do this. First of all, you can pull this around, and if you wanted to, you can just drop media in this way, and it'll automatically be added to a bin over on the left hand side here. That's one way, but that can be pretty time consuming. Another way is to go file. This is the way I like to do it. File, import, or it's Command I is your shortcut for that. And I'm going to search on the desktop. And right now I have some green screen footage set up that I'm going to also do a tutorial about. So I'm going to import these clips. Okay. And we're back into Project Adobe Premiere tutorial here. And inside of here, I've just imported these clips. You'll see that I've opened that up and I've got these clips in here now. And you see, so this is a good way to kind of scrub through some of your clips very quickly to see if you want to use that clip or if you want to discard it. I also have some backdrops here too. Let's double click this clip and you can bring it up into your panel up top here. And this is a good place where you can start to listen to the clip and you can really pinpoint exactly what part of the clip that you want to bring down into the timeline. You can also hit spacebar.
Bunch of candy. My favorite part of the parade was candy because I love candy.
Okay, so we like that little part of this clip. And the way I've just highlighted this little piece of the clip that we really like is I've hit I on the keyboard for in point and O on the keyboard for out point. So, and if I want to change that, I can change it like that. I hit O again, and I just move this scrubber across, and I hit I for in point and O for out point. Okay, so we're happy with the part of the clip that we want to bring in. We can also just bring the clip all the way over to the timeline as well. And then if we bring our pointer tool in here, we can start to eliminate parts of that clip. But this way is much easier, bringing it up into your source monitor and eliminating the excess that you don't want to use is a much more streamlined way to work, and then your timeline doesn't get quite as messy. So I have this clip up here. I'm really happy with it. Now all I need to do is click the clip, and then I can drag that part of the clip down into it. And it doesn't keep it doesn't keep the entire clip. It just puts that little part in. So let's put another clip in. And let's bring this up to the source monitor now. So I double-clicked that clip. And I like this aspect. And let's...
Each course is different compared to track where you're running on a track every single race.
Okay. Maybe that's the end of his sentence. So we're really happy with that comment. And we want to add that down to the timeline too. And so I'm just taking the pointer tool. Notice that it's a pointer tool. And click the clip, and I can just drag it right down. At the moment, I don't need my bin to be open. I can click it to reopen if I need to, but I don't need it to be open. And what I want to do is add, so I've clicked this. What I want to do is add an effect to this. Normally, I wouldn't put a transition in this early on, and normally I would pretty much get a base storyline for the video that I want to try and create before I go ahead and put some effects on. But for right now, while we're learning the program, it's also important to kind of know where all these things are and kind of play around with. So what I'm going to do is show you guys how to put a video transition in. And the video transition that I like to use is a cross dissolve.
It's fun hanging out with people, especially at races. It's really fun.
Okay, so you guys can see that.
It's fun hanging out with people, especially at races.
So it's a nice transition. To be able to zoom in, you got this bar down below here. And it's going to zoom in wherever your player head is located. So if I want to squeeze this bar in, see I've squeezed this bar, made it smaller. Now I can kind of take a better look at what I've got here. And I can bring this transition, make it bigger if I want to. Okay, maybe I don't really like the cross dissolve right there. So what I'm going to do is click it, and then I'm going to hit delete. I've realized that I need to bring KJ's clip out a little bit longer.
Cool.
Maybe with your pointer tool, here's a bunch of tools right here that you guys can utilize. Okay, still using my pointer tool. If I don't want any audio with this particular clip, I can roll out my audio line and make it a little bit bigger, showcasing this little white line that's in here. And if I can find that little white line, I can bring down this aspect. See how the numbers right below this are dropping? Those are decibels, so that's how audio is read. It's read in the amount of decibels. Right now, I'm dropping it, and I can drop it down to 0 decibels so you can't hear anything. Maybe you want to bring it up. You can bring it up higher too. Make that. Maybe you have some music underneath it, and you can't hear what the guy or the person is saying, so you need to bring this audio up a little bit. It's important to watch your audio meter on the right-hand screen, right-hand side of the screen here, and you can see how loud it is. If it's over by 0 right here, that means it's going to start peaking out. The ideal situation is where you're going to be at -6 to -12 decibels for your audio. So we could bring KJ's way up.
I'd probably want to be something dressable.
It's fun hanging out with people, especially at races. It's really fun.
Do you like cross country or track better?
I like cross country more because.
And you can see right there, he started to peak out right there. So it's just a little bit loud for him, and we're just going to drop that down.
I like cross country more because.
What I want to do is break this clip out a little bit. It's just not. There's somebody else is talking in there. And to do that, I've gone to the razor tool right here. So I've gone from pointer tool to razor tool. And at this point, I can click this. And then I can make another click right there. I'm going to go back to the selection tool. And what I'm going to do is eliminate that part. I'm going to make this a little bit wider. And I'm going to move KJ's clip right across the other one. So it goes from.
Races. It's really fun.
I would love to be in the homecoming parade. I'd probably want to.
Okay. Make that a little bit tighter.
I probably want to be something dressed.
I like cross country more because each course is different compared to track where you're running on a track every single race.
Okay. Let me show you guys quickly, because this will come really in handy as well. The pen tool. The pen tool is really awesome. Let's say there's an aspect where it's just a little bit loud.
I like cross country more.
Okay, like right at the beginning there. I can add a little point right there, and I can add another point right there, and I can just bring that little part of the dialogue down a little bit.
I like cross country more because each course is different compared to track where you're running on a track every single race.
And see, that just normalized the audio, and you don't have peaking out areas. And I might bring this down just to kind of fine tune a little bit.
Cross country more because each course is different compared to track where you're running on a track every single race.
So up top here, you have different window assemblies for the program. You can go from effects to working with color to your editing panel, which we got started with, assembly panel. All of these are laid out slightly different to kind of add to whatever you're working on as far as your project goes. And this can come really in handy as far as working more fluidly with the program. Just if you're working on something like editing or color correcting, going from panel to panel certainly helps get jobs done a little bit quicker. Up top here, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of stuff in here as well. One of those things that will first come up is, how do you save your project? If you want to change the place of where you're saving your project before you've saved it, this is a good place to go. Hit File, Save As. Here's your name of your project right here. And let's change that. We can change that to the desktop, or we can make a folder on our desktop. And we can save that right to... If you're in Adobe Premiere and you're not finding all these windows open, you can go up to Window, and you can make sure to check off and make sure that you have effects checked, or make sure that you have your project panel checked. And this really kind of helps as far as like making sure that those workspaces are available for you. So when you're done, you're going to be ready to render your project out. Up top here is your timeline. You can render it out wherever you want on the timeline, but if there's a bunch of extra stuff out in the back, it's going to want to render that stuff too. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and what I'm going to do is hit I on my sequence, and I'm going to hit O for an out point. And that way it captures just that aspect. So I hit I on the timeline, and I hit O on the timeline for my out point, and all it's going to capture is the part that's highlighted now. And what it's going to do is make all of that one video instead of having these bits and pieces that's left out through here. I'm going to go File, Export Media, and Format. I want to make sure that I'm on H.264, not H.264 Blu-ray, not HEVC. H.264 is what we're going to use in here. It should say Match Source High Bitrate. This is where you can name your actual clip. So I'm going to call this Tutorial, and I'm going to send it right to the desktop. Okay, I'm going to hit Save. Export, make sure that Export Video and Export Audio is checked. Under here is a summary. 1920 by 1080 is what your output is. The source is also 1920 by 1080, which is full HD. Make sure that your frames per second match. Of course, if match source, high bit rate will be there, then you should be good to go. I click Use Maximum Render Quality, and there's some other stuff in here, but you don't really need to know that stuff right now. It's a way to change your bitrate settings. You can do a 2-pass instead of a 1-pass, and then you can get just slightly higher quality video with that codec. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Export, and after this is through, in about 30 seconds, you should be able to see your file on your desktop. Okay, thanks for watching Adobe Premiere getting started.